The main goal of pen testing is to find loopholes and security vulnerabilities in your information systems. As a part of pen test, we also test security defenses and security controls that an organization has implemented, because organizations normally come to you and they would tell you that they have implemented firewalls, security incident event management solutions, and all these modern day fancy next generation firewalls and systems relying upon machine learning. How effective are they against real world attacks? So to test the efficacy and effectiveness of these security controls, penetration testing is very important. We do our best at eradicating false positives and making sure that there are no false negatives. But that being said, of course, when we compare pen testing with a real world attacker has an infinite amount of time to attack and compromise an organization. Whereas in a pen testing, we have a very limited and a finite amount of time. Now, we have a very diversified team who are expert at all different areas in terms of offensive security. So if one researcher or one pen tester is not able to find a vulnerability or misses a potential security vulnerability, it is picked by another researcher. So we spend a lot of time working with client, make sure that we map out the scope as accurately as possible. Because a lot of time what happens is that the client does not provide enough information, which leads to a scenario whereby we have blind spots, which means that there would be systems that would not be tested. However, when we are doing an infrastructure pen test and a Blackbox pen test, of course, then the only thing that we have is the company name, or in some cases IP ranges, and that's where we try to replicate the techniques that adversaries these days are using. Sometimes what we'll do is, depending upon the sector in which a company operates, we would try to find out the threat attackers that are there and the techniques that they are using, and we would try to replicate those techniques along with our own proprietary techniques. We have our own proprietary tools and scanners that we use on top of different commercial scanners, so that way we are able to eradicate and remove false positives. And also, we've prioritized security vulnerabilities on the basis of risk and the impact that a risk carries to a business. So that way we could have a more accurate representation of a risk for a company, so the company knows where should they spend their time. So the number of people to be engaged in a project depends upon the size of the project or the size of the organization. And normally, depending upon the size of organization, we could engage somewhere between 6 to 10 people. And normally we have somebody who is more into the evasion part, who is an expert at evading antivirus, EDRs, and different solutions. We have a project manager with us whose responsibility is to document the findings and basically translate those findings into more of business terms. We have a pen testing lead who leads the projects and divides the scope according to the expertise of people and according to the timelines. I think pen testing should be done after every major release, and if the company is able to afford it, they should definitely go for more full-fledged pen testing, which is known as red teaming, which is very expensive, of course. I think with every major change, there should be a pen test. And there should be policy within an organization, and this is what CIS recommends in its top 18 controls, that you should do pen testing at least once annually. And that is, of course, an internal pen test as well as an external pen test. And internal pen testing is something that should be continuous, whereas an external pen test is something that you could do once or twice a year, depending upon how regularly you push updates.